There we go. Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at property address 12047 Southwest Lincoln Ave here in Tigard. I describe everything as if you're standing, in this case, kind of the yard facing the front door of the house. We're just to the left of the front door. We've got a 3-inch cast iron cleanout. Sticks way out of the ground, you can't miss it. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water's currently running. Once we get the camera going in the right direction here, we'll get the foot counter zeroed out. These 3-inch cast iron directional cleanouts are rather ironic. They're directional, designed to help push your camera away from the house, and what they end up doing is flipping it backwards. It's kind of... This only happens in 3-inch pipe, not 4-inch. It's weird. There we go. Alright, we're heading out away from the house now. We're going to zero the foot counter out. And we'll bring it back in slower. We've got a lot of ground to cover here, it looks like. Hit too many turns like that, we are not going to make it. I might be hitting the stopping point there. Yeah, something stopped my camera up there. I'm not entirely sure what it is. Oh, hold on. There's a lip on that joint. It's right as the line starts to do a nosedive. Yeah, my camera does not want to hop over whatever lip that is there. We're going to locate, let the line drain. Alright, so while the lines start to drain off here, where I'm at right now, I put a pink arrow down. It's not a repair marking, it's just merely a reference point. If you go out to the very end of the driveway, right where the driveway meets the sidewalk, we're sitting up against the left side edge of the driveway. That's as you look into the property from the main road out there. About 4'10" to 5 inches deep. I'm sorry, 4'10" to 5 foot deep. And what's stopping me, I pulled my camera back just slightly when the monitor was paused. There is a lip. It's all of about 1/4 of an inch. But at 160 feet out, it takes almost nothing to stop a camera. We have no more leverage at this point to ram through that. So it looks like we've still got some water draining here. We're going to give this just a moment to for the water to stop moving around. It does appear there's some level of standing water here. This long standing water is very common. I mean, it doesn't make it a good thing, but it's extremely common. And what I don't know right now, after running a camera through 160 feet of old cast iron that's probably never had a machine go through it before, you're scraping junk off the bottom of the pipe. The standing water up there could very easily be the result of just simply debris getting pushed out of the flow line up in front of the camera. Because it's, you know, pretty quick after backing up there, the line starts to drain off. Now, you can do things like, and we'll see how the line looks as we come back in here. If there's not much in the way of scale buildup, I only recommend descaling cast iron. If you see that kind of rougher texture to the inside of cast iron, you often get what's called rust scale, layers of rust that build up. And we are getting some sludge building up in the flow line. My concern when people go and clean this stuff out is if you don't have someone who really knows what they're doing and has the time and the patience to do it properly, you can end up having a worse situation than you started with. Knocking the rust loose is the easy part. It's blasting all of the rust out of the line, all said and done, that is the much more time-intensive part of descaling a line. And I've had over 13 years of doing this, I've really backed off of recommending that because I've had guys come out, just run their jet through the line way too quick, and then leave 1 to 2 inch thick piles of rust sitting in the flow line that causes a blockage almost immediately. So you got to be careful when you do these things, or you just got to make sure who you're having out here knows what they're getting into and blocks out enough time to do it properly. And it ends up being a rather expensive drain cleaning. It's not your run-of-the-mill, $300 to $500 drain cleaning. A descale on a line like this can often run significantly more than that, just because of the amount of time it takes. So if I don't start seeing a whole lot more build up here, especially in the first part of the line, which is certainly the most significant as it relates to the potential for blockages and backups. Not that backups can't occur from distances of 100 feet plus, but it takes a different circumstance to get that. A blockage that's gnarly enough to withstand the head pressure of 100 plus feet of water building up behind it. Usually you're getting into the abusive category at that point. Paper towels, wipes, a combination of that and grease, things of that nature. But we've got enough junk like this in the line here, it's getting hard to not recommend cleaning on it. And this is just kind of what you end up with these lines that are this long. By the time you hit the main, you're probably pushing, I would wager about 185 feet. It takes a long time for stuff to get from point A to point B on a line like this. So if anything improper goes down the line, it has very little chance of ever getting out of the line. So I tell most people to treat these more like a septic system because of, when you flush a toilet on your average home, it's got a 40, 50 foot line. Unless you're using a high flow old school toilet that's got really good flow to it, you're lucky if your solids are making it 30 feet before stopping. So it's often a combination of multiple toilet flushes, running your sinks, your showers, things like that finally convey everything out to the main. So on lines that are this length, you want to be extra mindful that you're not putting anything improper down it. As far as gradation goes, I am very, very pleased how we're looking here. There is that standing water at the end of the line, I'm almost thinking is very likely the result of things like we just saw there, getting broken loose by the camera and getting pushed up in front of us. We've got a few wipes in the line. There's another one there. Whoever did the install on this did a magnificent job doing it. It is not an easy thing to grade a line this long. We've had almost no standing water. Out of 160 feet, I think only about 3 feet of it at the very, very end had any standing water at all. And it's a little bit suspect that it's only right there. That's why I think there's a decent chance that there's debris in the flow line right in front of the camera. And you just can't see it because the water's just murky. I can't tell you how many lines I scope that are brand spanking new that are this long, and they are not graded anywhere near as well as this thing is. Cast iron is also a very rigid pipe product. It resists bowing and bending much, much more effectively than your newer plastic pipe products do. Yeah, see, junk like this is hard not to recommend cleaning on. It's very close proximity to the house. So you just need to kind of be prepared for, it's not going to be a $99 auger deal kind of a thing. It's one that once you get to the point of jetting this thing, you've got to be thorough and take it all the way out. Just jetting even the first 30, 40 feet, you're going to knock rust loose, and you've got to be able to blast that stuff free. You could also try just running a very high volume amount of water down this line for a while. I mean, literally just let your bathtub or your garden hose sit in here for, 30, 45 minutes to an hour, running full bore. And that often can help loosen things up. There's just no guarantee. And that works better with plastic pipe than cast iron. Cast iron's a fairly rough pipe product. Once things get hung up, they don't bust loose terribly easy. And right here, about 2 feet in approximately, the line bells out to 4-inch pipe. So you've got 4-inch pipe almost the entire way out there on the exterior, you know, shorter than just the first few feet of the line. So as far as old lines go, cast iron lines, and especially considering the length that thing is, it's incredible how well this line has held up. It certainly has plenty of buildup in it. There's grease, there's sludge, and you've probably got a good 15-20 wipes in the line there. So, and some of them are fairly close proximity to the house. So it's one of those scenarios where it's kind of hard for me not to recommend cleaning on it. That's not to say that debris may not naturally work its way out. Now that it's broken loose by the camera, it may indeed flow out of the line unadjusted. So that is an option. I would literally put a garden hose in here, run it full bore, and you've got to do it for a solid 45 minutes to an hour probably. Just let it run. And that'll probably help clear a portion of that stuff out there. So not, you know, barring cleaning and not being able to see that last few feet there where you've got standing water, a belly at that distance is not concerning. It takes an incredible amount of debris buildup to back up from 160 feet away. And generally speaking, if you're just putting proper items down here, toilet paper line in general, toilet paper disintegrates and breaks down on its own. It's the wipes and stuff that don't, and paper towels, flushable wipes are another one too. Do not use those things on this line. They will clog back. But it might be nice to get some of that buildup out of there, so it's just not contributing to any further buildup. But you know, and jetting does put wear and tear on a line too. So it's a hard call. I think it would make sense in this case to start before you go through the effort of jetting. I think it would probably be worthwhile to just run a ton of water down this thing non-stop and do a rescope and see how it looks before jumping to the jet option. Everything looks intact. The hard part here is it's hard to get a good look at the bare metal because there's so much sludge throughout the line. That's very typical of lines this length and this age. But by and large, I'm not seeing any very, super obvious signs of heavy channeling or rotting or anything like that going on. There's a couple areas where you've got some excess sludge where you might have some of that starting to occur, but no obvious areas of channeling. We had essentially zero standing water coming the whole way back. Channeling is where the metal gets eaten away in the flow line over time. And generally, when channeling begins, you're going to have standing water that forms in a skinny little trough in the middle of the flow line, which I did not see any of that throughout the line there. So out to 156 feet, basically right to the sidewalk, we have adequate flow. I think if you could do a thorough cleaning on this thing, you would improve flow. But it's also one of those things it's hard to weigh the risks on what everything's going to look like all said and done after cleaning it. I'd hate to see a bunch of rust build up, get stuck in the line here. And it can be cleaned out, don't get me wrong. It's just involved. But jetting a line over, for hours and hours on end, it also puts wear and tear on it. It doesn't extend the life by doing that. If anything, it weakens it a little bit. So anyway, I think let's start with just running tons of water down it, rescope it, see how it looks at that point. And you may want to have the drain cleaner do that. That way, if it does actually need jetting at that point in time, they're already there on site to do it. Everything looks intact out to about 160 feet or 156 feet, and water is certainly conveying out to that point. We do have some buildup in the line that could contribute to further buildup and potentially a blockage.